You want to evaluate the limit if it exists. So the limit as t approaches 0 of the function 1 over t times the square root of 1 plus t minus 1 over t. So we need to rewrite this in one term since we have two fractions. So the first thing we need to do is to find the LCD. Well, the LCD of those two fractions is t times the square root of 1 plus t. So therefore, that becomes our new denominator for both fractions. So it was already the denominator for the first one, t times the square root of 1 plus t, minus over here we have t times the square root of 1 plus t. So what do we need to multiply by the first denominator to get the new denominator, which is just 1? So 1 times 1 is going to give us 1. And so what do we need to multiply t by? We need to multiply it by the square root of 1 plus t. And we got to do the same thing in the numerator by the square root of 1 plus t. So here we end up with the square root of 1 plus t. Now we can combine it into one fraction. So we have the limit as t approaches 0. The numerator becomes 1 minus the square root of 1 plus t over t times the square root of 1 plus t. Okay, now we do not want to leave the radical in the numerator, so we're going to have to rationalize the numerator. So we need to multiply the numerator by its conjugate. And the conjugate is 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. And we're going to multiply the denominator by 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. So now in the numerator, when we multiply them together, we're going to get the difference of squares. So 1 times 1, that's 1 squared is 1. And that becomes minus, when you multiply the square root of 1 plus t times the square root of 1 plus t, that becomes 1 plus t. And that is divided by t times the square root of 1 plus t times 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. Okay, now if we distribute this sign, and we end up getting the limit as t approaches 0 of 1 minus 1 minus t over t times the square root of 1 plus t times 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. So now if we combine like terms, so in the numerator, 1 minus 1 is going to give us 0. So we have negative t left in the numerator, divided by t times the square root of 1 plus t times 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. So now we can see that we can factor out this t, so we have 1 left in the numerator. So we have the limit as t approaches 0 of -1 divided by the square root of 1 plus t times 1 plus the square root of 1 plus t. And at this point we cannot simplify any further, so now we're going to evaluate the limit. So let's go ahead and plug in 0 for the value of t. So we have -1 over the square root of 1 plus 0 times 1 plus the square root of 1 plus 0. So we get -1 over the square root of 1 times 1 plus the square root of 1. Well, we know that the square root of 1 is 1. So we have 1 times 1 plus 1, which becomes -1 over 2. So therefore, there is our result.